Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. Just made this fresh cortado. Fresh beans from Trastero. Don't recall which one's there. I'll have to look into it. I'll get back to you on that. Just ended one bag of beans. Moved on to the next one. So I want to take a moment to recap. Oh, write-ups. Mi fita está aquí. Since we last spoke with the Framebag, I've been thinking a lot about the issues I had with the assembly stuff. Overall, the bag worked fine, fit good. There were a couple things once I had it on the bike where I could see that I could have moved a strap one way or the other. And because of the position of the one strap, it kind of forced the bag to compress a little bit. Easy enough to fix in the future. Could rip the seams out and do that. Also, I think it could use an extra 2 straps in the front to keep it stretched out into the compartment. But overall, it was a win. The things I struggled with, though, were the zipper and parts of the gusset. Okay, sorry. Special appearance by the boss lady here. So in the meantime, since I had some fabric and I was struggling with those areas, I just decided, take 2. Let's reset. I decided to make a new bag, following someone else's patterns and someone else's instructions, more importantly. This way it's a learning process. Something new, probably something overlooking. So this is fanny pack I just made, hip pack. This is the Learn, MYOG, learnmakeyourOwngear.com. LearnMYOG.com is the website, and Instagram, YouTube, great tutorials. And they have patterns. This one is a free pattern, so no harm in trying, right? Luckily, I had this fabric laying around. This is white X pack that I used for my other bags. Actually, I have another bag here. This is a dud that I made probably about 8 months ago for my Ibis Haka. Watch that video up here, there, here. This, I think, was V2. And the problem with this one, so it came out okay. But the idea with this bag was to hide a dyno wire. That was the whole thing. It was just to hide the dyno wire because I was using zip ties before and it's just not pretty. Aesthetically, it just hurt my heart to look at it. And I love a dyno. And with dynos, you got wires. So my idea was to make a frame bag, half frame bag, and run the wires through the front where normally people might have a hole for a bladder, right, for your water. Instead, let's run a dyno wire through there. Who cares? Not doing anything epic. We're just having fun. So this was number 2. The first one I did, I sewed a channel on the non-drive side, and I thought I could just fish the wire through there. Well, that didn't work out too well because I made it too small, and then I messed up the seam allowance, and it just tightened. It just kept constricting to the point where I couldn't really fish the wire through with my hands. I would have needed a tool, and if I was out anywhere, no way it was going to work. So the second idea was just as dumb, but it was an experiment. What I did is I made this whole panel, and there's Velcro on the front and the back. So I could open it up. This way it's a lot bigger panel. But on the front of the bag, you can see because of the angle and where I put it, it essentially constricted with seam allowances and just not being precise. I was trying to figure it out. And then also, because it's so narrow, I essentially couldn't get my fingers in there to feed it through anyways. So I started over. What I ended up doing on the third and final bag is I had it come in through the top, exit through the back, also at the top. So I basically made 2 pass-throughs. Then on the interior here, I basically just sewed in some of this, I think it's called one strap or something. It's basically like Velcro that is hook and loop on either side. I'm not going to edit this, so you're going to have to put up with all this stuff. And basically I just kind of made loops like this. Like conduit, imagine a conduit piping. So I just had like 3 of them running. I have 3 of them running along the interior here. So the wire comes in, I just feed it through the top on the inside, and then it feeds out the back. And it's done. It's fine. It works. Things I did better on this one, V2, was I made a better zipper garage, but it's still not good. It's too small. I didn't flip over the fabric. And on this one, just from playing around with it, it's probably too hard to see, but it's already starting to fray in the front. Now I remember you got to fold it over, make bigger pieces. Anyways, that's one. So in the meantime, when I did the other bag, since I was having problems with the gusset, I figured, well, let's look at someone else's instructions and see how they did it. Maybe there's a better way. So luckily this is a pattern. So you can download it for free, print out all of these patterns, which are similar to things I've done in Illustrator. More importantly, they have a lot of things like tick marks. This one has the letter A, so you always know that this A lines up with another piece. I forget where it is. Oh, here's the back. So this has the letter A. So when things are together, wrong side to wrong side, or right side to right side, they all line up together. So it's real helpful to use someone else's pattern. And I worked on my seam allowance for the zipper, and I followed their instructions for how to make these zipper stops. So, oops, wrong way. So it's just a piece of X-Pack that's folded over on both sides, and then it's just measured, I think it was a 1/2 inch in from the edge of the fabric, and it creates this really nice zipper stop. So that's the front, and then the top access port, there's a zippered gusset on the top, and then there's just a solid gusset that runs around the bottom 3/4. But if you notice, the zipper is coming in at an angle, right? It's diagonal, which is cool. And they did some black magic, and in the pattern, the gusset lines up with the top end of the zipper, and then the gusset lines up with the bottom of the zipper. That's pretty cool. On mine, it lined up in the middle of the zipper panel on the bottom one, but the top one, as I worked myself around, it didn't quite line up. But overall, it's still pretty good, and it came out pretty square. There's nothing in it, so it's kind of falling apart. And it's got a just a yellow liner on the inside, front one, and then you can see the back, and then there's a pocket here to separate some things. This is some old X-Pack I had, and it's got this shiny material on the inside, kind of chrome, but you could use it either way, but I think it's pretty ugly to use it that way, so I use the outside, the white out. And what it does, it looks pretty clean. What it also does, it looks cool as it ages because it gets dirty and dusty. Sorry, I'm not using light, so the sun just changed. This we just went up behind a cloud. I don't have to worry so much about that glare anymore. But all in all, this was a pretty great little project. Little confidence booster. Free pattern, like I said, really fast. I think I cut the pieces in maybe less than an hour. Probably spent, I took my time on it, and probably spent maybe about 4 hours putting it all together with some breaks and stuff. So not terrible. Had a couple problems, but I figured it out, and it all came out pretty good. So the next thing I'm working on, sorry, need more coffee, is, and these might be hard to see, especially now that the light just went away, but I'm just using this graph paper. We got these tablets. And It's got inch squares on it, maybe 2 by 2 squares on it. But what I use it for is to, if I have an idea of what kind of the shape of the bag I want, but I'm not sure of the proportions, because I can just use the squares. What I can do is I just cut out the pieces. This will be, in the future, this will be bigger. It's going to be a camera case for my drone is the idea. But this is essentially the shape, one piece of fabric. And then what I've done is I've gone ahead and scored it. See the marks there. And with that, I can just kind of visualize what it will look like. It's just going to be a little fold-over bag, essentially just a little hip bag, right? And it will be big enough that I could put something in it. Right now I could only put a miniature camera, but the idea is to put a real size camera in there. I'll run some Velcro loop I guess on the face, some hook on the flap, so it'll just fold over. The idea is this will just be a padded bag to put inside another bag. I have a drone. The drone has a bag that has the controller, the drone, and the batteries. It's kind of bulky. And when I take it on a bike, I have to use that big bag. And it'd be nicer to separate those 3 elements out to 3 smaller bags so you could pack them in different places. So basically, I just make 3 variations of this. So this was, let's see. This was the first one I did. Didn't really come out right. Didn't fold together well. Second one was better. This one I taped shut. I taped the sides down just because I knew I was getting on the right direction and I wanted to see it. But what I noticed is that the top flap, when I close it, it kind of leaves, again, it's hard to see, but kind of leaves a little gap on the sides here, and it's probably fine. So on the revision, this is the final one I did. You see I put a little flare out here for the top. So that way when I fold it over and then close it like so, this is probably too much, but there's just a little bit more coverage when the top folds over. I'll have to experiment that. Maybe I'll cut it back once I get an actual piece together. But that's kind of the idea. And ultimately, I'm trying to work my way up, work my courage up to making my own rando bag. It's just a boxy bag. And it's just a big piece that essentially, when it's laid out, would look like this, right? Maybe slightly different shapes, but the idea is the same. It's basically one big piece of fabric. Obviously, there would be another piece of fabric sandwiched on top of it, which would be the interior. And then before you'd assemble it, you would start laying out your attachment points, your webbing, maybe a 3D pockets on the back, where your decolor is going to be, your map pocket on the top. But these are essentially the building blocks of that. Tiny, tiny building blocks of that. But at least you can start to visualize, or I can start to visualize it. Then once I have an idea of what I think it's going to look like, I can just make a bigger piece out of this graph paper. Build it maybe either half size or in full size, just out of paper, before I start cutting any fabric. Now I don't waste anything, right? That's the main idea. It's like doing all this stuff is fun, but there's definitely a cost to it if you make mistakes all the time. The benefit of paying for a good bag is someone has worked out all the bugaboos, whatever you call it, the kinks, Village Green Preservation Society. And when you're doing it on your own and you figure it out and you're trying to customize it to fit something, maybe it's because you want it to be a certain size, or you want it to fit a certain thing, or certain fabric, color, whatever, to match your bike. This white is really nice because they used it to make the frame bag for my Ibis, for example, and it's all white. So it looks really cool. It's custom. I didn't have to request that. Plus, I just had the fabric, so it's easy. But it did take 3 versions to get to the one I built. And again, this is my 3rd paper version to get to this. So you can imagine if you were doing that full size, how frustrating that would be and how expensive that could add up. Making your own gear is fun and it's challenging, but it's also can add up. So I don't want to make too many mistakes. So it's good to build it out as something like paper first. So anyways, I just wanted to share an update where I'm at after building that bag. There were definitely some things that I thinking now I should have done better, could have done better, and I think it would be a good challenge to actually redo that pattern and start over, or not start over, because the pattern is good. The pattern is good, but there are places where the straps went that could be modified and changed, and it would probably overall make the bag a better bag. And then also, I think I could have added or should have added maybe like a little mesh pocket on the inside, and or like a map pocket on the non-drive side. So 2 zippers instead of 1. I just tried to keep it as simple as possible. It's just a single opening bag right now. Also, I saw some cool ideas about maybe using straps in one area, but maybe using paracord across the top tube, because she does have a top tube bag that was kind of interfering. That's where some of the strap issues come from. And the paracord, I think, would have worked better around that stuff. But I've never tried doing that before. And it looks pretty straightforward, just a matter of cutting some webbing and laying it out evenly across the top tube section. And then also, I think maybe measuring out the gussets one piece at a time and assembling them corner by corner. I know there's a better way to do it, to measure it all around to make sure it measures out right, but I'm still struggling with some of that math on it, which was nice to use someone else's pattern for this hip pack because it came out pretty good. I did get a little nervous when it came. This basically started and went around, but when I came back here where it came together, they had a really interesting way of not enclosing it and then holding it together and sewing across it to create this closure. But it was close, and I could see that if I had been off a little bit more than I was, because I was a little bit off, even though I was taking my time and checking everything, I still going around the corners. I think I might have cut a corner too tight here and there, and so that effectively shortened up the gusset. And I think it was close, and that was with someone had done proper measurements too. So you just have to be careful with that stuff. But that's all part of the process of learning, right? And as you know, I mean, buying a bag is cool, but building one is a little bit more complicated. Say 10%, say 10% more complicated. Let's go with that, 10% more complicated. So anyways, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the notifications. And if there's something, I don't know, I appreciate any feedback of this whole YouTube endeavor. And it's a whole new world, and trying to make videos better and better. Although this one I'm probably not going to edit this one, so you're just going to have to listen to me ramble for a bit. This is grandpa vlog style, and I'm probably going to try to do more of these. I'm old enough that I can appropriately use those terms now. Grandpa vlog. I know the right way to fall asleep in the middle of a television show and doze off and not pay attention and wear my chanclas, and I got my pens already in here, so I'm pretty much grandpa style anyways. Just grandpa on a bike, so whatever. As long as I got coffee and a bike and my dogs, grandpa style all the way, grandpa vlog. All right, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. We'll see you next time. And we'll see you next time. Bye.